California politicians are giving out up to $200,000 to first-time homebuyers. They say it'll help make housing more affordable in the state. Nothing could go wrong, right? Coming up, I'll tell you how this is a disastrous and insane proposal that will leave taxpayers saddled with billions of dollars in losses and will actually increase the price of a home in California. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and there is no doubt about it. Buying a house in California is really hard, and for first-time homebuyers, it's pretty much impossible. Now, we've covered in other podcasts the reasons why California housing prices are so sky high, and I'm not going to go into in depth all the reasons why and what we need to do to fix our housing crisis. That's in that other podcast, and in fact, we'll put a link to that full podcast in the comment section below. Suffice it to say that government has screwed things up in California such that our housing costs are too high. But here, after screwing things up and making things so much more expensive for people to try to buy a house or rent, here comes government politicians again, the same ones who screwed up, the liberals, and now they're saying they'll fix it by giving first-time homebuyers taxpayer money, up to $200,000 actually, so that these people can lower the entry price for buying a home in California, and then therefore they will somehow magically be able to make a profit, and that the state will actually be able to make a profit, and everyone will be great. It's again, this is absolute insanity, and it may sound real nice, it may sound real good, and I'm sure you're thinking at home, hey, how do I get my hands on $200,000 if they're giving it away? It's going to increase the price of housing across the board, and we'll explain why. So here's the proposal. It's from Democrat Senate Leader Toni Atkins. She calls it the California Dream for All program, and she is trying to get billions of dollars for this program. The idea would be that the state of California would give up to $200,000, or in her proposal, the 17% of the purchase price of a home. And let's say that a home is $1 million in a community. And by the way, that's not a big home. That's not an expensive home in some of these areas, $1 million. That's $170,000. It could go all the way up to, in her proposal, $200,000. So 17% would basically be the down payment. So someone who doesn't have a down payment would get free government money, your taxpayer money, because that money's got to come from somewhere. Taxpayer money would be given to these individuals. They would then put a down payment on a house, they would move in, and they would start paying the mortgage. Nothing could go wrong, right? The idea being that if they continue paying the mortgage every month, that magically prices will go up. And then when those people sell, they would first pay back the state, so the state would be made whole. And of course, the home buyers would then be able to enjoy the increased valuation of the home upon the sale. In theory, it seems like it would work. In theory, communism works, but it doesn't in practice. You see, we're in a housing market, and housing markets are based upon a commodity, and that is a house. It's not just land, but it's a housing unit. That commodity has a finite supply. If you suddenly give capital to buyers, the demand for housing will go up. Now, what happens in that market transaction? Supply doesn't change, but you've just created a stimulus on demand because you're giving people a down payment where ordinarily they would not be able to afford a down payment. What's going to happen at that point? Prices are going to go up. Again, I've said from the get-go, and we covered in this other podcast on why California's housing prices are so high. California politicians like Toni Atkins have failed miserably when it comes to making California attractive for home builders to invest, to increase supply, made it impossible through regulation and red tape to build a home at some reasonable price, and have put up obstacles like the California Environmental Quality Act and other bad government laws that make it easy to block projects. They've also made voters not wanting housing projects in their neighborhood because the politicians like Tony Atkins have stolen money for road projects, infrastructure projects, schools, fire stations, and so people are worried about density, and rightfully so. So you have to address all those things and increase supply, and prices will go down and people will be able to afford. I mean, we know it. It's economics 101. But what Tony Atkins is proposing here with this free money proposal, it sounds seductively attractive, but it's not. It actually is pouring kerosene on a blazing fire. Because what you're doing is you're increasing demand. And so what will happen? Prices will go up by more than $200,000. So you suddenly give people $200,000. Sellers know that. A bunch of people walk in saying, oh, I got $200,000, I can give more. Prices will go up. And by the way, also, this program is not for everyone. No. There's only so much tax money for them to dole out. No. This program is for special consideration. It's for people with the right identity politics. Oh, you knew we were going there, right? Yes, it is all about equity. And so they're going to have a variety of check-the-box tests. So let's be blunt. You have the wrong skin color? Sorry, no money for you. And so you create a system that is not only going to result in damage in the housing market and make it harder for others to get a good home and to get into the home buying for the first time, but you're also trying to pick winners and losers, which government always tries to do, and it always ends up dividing us as a society. So Tony Atkins wants to do $1 billion, and she wants to do 17% purchase price, which basically would provide someone with a down payment to get them in that house. Now she says, oh, don't worry, we're going to make sure people can afford these homes by offering them household budget counseling. Okay. Again, the previous housing bubble in 2006, 7, 8 was caused by Democrats like Tony Atkins at the national level, who went out there and told mortgage companies, don't worry about people's ability to repay the mortgage. Don't worry about the valuation on a home. Just go and get people into homes. Home ownership is a constitutional right. Get everyone a home. It's not sustainable for people unless you fix the supply problem and actually reduce the price in the market. Now, this has already been piloted. There was a pilot test done last year, and they gave out $300 million. Here's a Cal Matters article I want to share with you. California approved $300 million in state-backed home loans. Who got the money? And by the way, they say here that there were 2,564 home buyers who got the goodies. They were the lucky ones. It was $288 million, which works out to be $112,324 of free taxpayer money for these individuals. Now, this program, once they did an application process, was overloaded with and flooded with applicants. No surprise. You're giving out free taxpayer money to go give people the ability to buy a home, no doubt. They say in 11 days, they completely ran out of the money. No surprise. And so these folks are out there. They've been able to buy their homes. And LAist, this website, has a story promoting this idea. California legislators want to help you buy a house with a down payment, shared equity. And they've got this little graphic here. How cute. Where they basically walk a typical couple through this beautiful program that Tony Atkins has. Step 1, begin life as renters. They have a household income of $90,000. Buying a home seems out of reach. Well, actually, a household income of $90,000 in other states not ruled by a Democrat liberal supermajority, it actually allows you to buy a house. So again, step 1 is completely erroneous, and it's biased, and it's distorting the truth, which is in California at $90,000, good luck trying to find a house. But in any other state in the union, pretty much you can get a house because they're actually doing their job in meeting the demands for housing supply. Step 2, go to your government office, show them your skin color, tell them about your gender identity and your personal pronouns, and you may be one of the lucky ones that get a shared equity agreement. A shared equity agreement. Look at these buzzwords. Aren't you feeling fuzzy and warm? Now, of course, it's low-income, middle-income households. But again, you know darn well that there will be a social equity skin color test on this as well. So Jessica and Michael in this case study will give $24,000 or 3% of the down payment, and 17% would be for the state of California to cough up. That allows them to afford a mortgage of $629,000. Again, in most metro areas, that's still not enough for the average price. But let's say that they put more in and the state put more in, up to $200,000. Anyway, so they buy a home. And they say that in their home, would be about $650,000, it looks like. And that the home price went up 6% annually in California. And they sold it for $1.3 million 10 years later. By the way, that's the best case scenario. What they would do is they would then give the state back its original gain, the original loan, plus the state would get a gain. Now, they need that gain because there's a lot of people in our scenario that will probably end up losing money, defaulting on their mortgage, but it's going to be worse than that. Just a minute, I'll explain. They say after transaction costs, they're going to net $481,000. Talk about a get-rich quick scheme. Like most of those schemes, it's a fraud. It has got a lot of downside potential. Now, in the downside potential here, the only downside potential that they can come up with is that the house stays of the same value. No appreciation. And that they sell the house after 10 years. They reimburse the state the $134,000, which means no money is brought back to the state. So the state has no money for program administration, no money for losses that other borrowers have incurred. And look, the state, I know, has never run a mortgage company before, but mortgage companies understand that there is a certain percentage, no matter how good their vetting process, no matter how good the economy, no matter how hot the real estate market, there's a certain percentage of defaults on loans. So there's an administration cost, a default cost. So in this case, the downside scenario is the state does not break even. The state loses a lot of money. And remember, this is 10 years later. And so you have inflation. What could the state have done with those funds over the 10-year period? So this is a loss for the state, not a break even. And of course, they're saying, well, Jessica and Michael, they made all their mortgage payments, so they're still going to have a little equity in the home. Well, if the house doesn't appreciate, do they really have equity in the home? No. They basically took money out of their pocket and they put it into a shoebox. It's a savings account, in essence, because they're paying down the principal on their home mortgage, which is great, wonderful that they're being disciplined in doing that. It's, in this case, better than renting. So let's review the bidding. It does benefit them because they don't pay a mortgage for a landlord. They get to pay the principal on their own mortgage, and that's a benefit. But the state likely is losing money for this subsidy. And do you think that this is the only downside potential? Not a chance. In fact, in California, and we've seen this nationwide, and I predict in California it's going to be pretty dramatic, there are bubbles in the housing market all the time. And people don't always have the luxury to say, oh, I'll wait out the market. I won't sell. No. People have to sell all the time for a variety of reasons that are not convenient for the market timing. And so, yes, you could see a 20% decline, a 40% decline, a 60% decline in the price of a home. What happens then? Well, I'm sure under the shared equity agreement, the couple walks away. It was a risk to the state. The state was able to take a gain if the equity went up. they're also going to have to take a loss if the equity goes down. So not only does the state have to worry about losses for people who default on the mortgage, and that happens even in good times, but they also have a risk. You, not just the state, you, the taxpayer, have a risk for losing money on these properties. Look, we have a dysfunctional housing market in California. That makes conditions all the more ripe for a bubble. And so when you add into a market a bunch of free money and you have an even more increased valuation on homes, an even more speculative bubble, the downside scenario of actually losing value in these homes is exponentially higher. We're talking about the potential for billions of dollars of taxpayer losses. We're also talking about the potential that Jessica and Michael won't even have the $79,000 that they put in the shoebox by paying the principal on their mortgage each month. We're talking about perhaps tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars in losses, ruining them. If they were renting, they could literally just continue to rent, not worry about the price of the rental. And in fact, if the housing market went down, maybe they'd be in a position to buy in that downturned market, or even better, get a discount on their rent. No such benefit or flexibility under this government-run program. Look, Toni Atkins is a failure. On housing, she's a failure. Her ilk, her colleagues in the state legislature, they have failed this state when it comes to housing. They do not have any credibility to lecture us on ideas to make things more affordable. No. They should sit down and shut up and let people who actually can deal with the supply issues start addressing it, cutting costs and trying to make California an attractive investment again. In order to build in California, you need capital, not just land, not just lumber. You need capital in addition to land and construction materials. California's housing market is in absolute disrepair. You have to start with that first, fix that, and then you can start looking at a prosperity-oriented agenda where Jessica and Michael can actually earn more because we're creating jobs again, and that supply is coming on the market, giving them more opportunities to be first home buyers. That's not what Toni Atkins is offering here. She's offering basically free money. And government free money never ends well. Till next time. Actually, before we go, till next time, please share this video because I'm concerned that people will be duped into accepting some of this free money and then find themselves in really bad situations. It also is going to hurt anyone else who doesn't get lucky enough to have the right skin color to get a little bit of the cheese. Go to reformcalifornia.org and join our fight to restore sanity in the state of California. Go to Keep Housing Decisions Local. I think that's the website. Keep Housing Decisions Local. Keep Housing Local. It's keephousinglocal.org. Keephousinglocal.org, because we are fighting to improve the policies for housing in California to make things more affordable. Keephousinglocal.org. And also, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps us with the algorithm. It helps spread the word about this crazy proposal from Toni Atkins to give free money out and put people into home buying situations where they may be buying into a bubble. Till next time, Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California. Thanks for watching. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, and subscribe to my YouTube channel.